Hey, welcome back, sixth graders. Well, I should say, welcome to BF. And, you know, I'm sure that you're like, who the heck is this guy? So, my name is Coach Jim Stroker, and I had the luxury, the privilege, and the gift of teaching at BF for 36 years. And I actually went to BF and I was sitting in those desks that you're sitting. And my children went to BF. And BF's been a big part of my life. And BF actually changed my life because the greatest things that ever happened to me happened inside of that school. And now you're there. So you're going to find out something very, very special. That this school is like no other school in the world. And the school has nothing to do with how beautiful the desks are. It has very little to do with how pretty the gymnasium is. And it has virtually nothing to do with how clean the school is. Although that's important. And you have the greatest custodians in the history of custodians. But let me get back to my point. It's all about two groups. It's all about group number one, the teachers, the administrators, the guidance counselors, those amazing women that you see in the office, all the aides, all the people that have been handpicked, chosen to be there as models, as supporters, as people who are there to make you believe that you can do more than you think you can. And they're an incredible group of people. They are there this year in really challenging situations with one goal in mind: to have you leave that school every day and feel better about yourself, more confident about yourself, and that you know that they'll be there for you day in and day out. Now, the other group of people that are there are you. You're a player on the team, and you're a crucial player on that team. And every day, that team is in a game. You see, I love these people that go, we got a big lacrosse game today, or we got a big basketball game, a big volleyball game. Well, you're in a game every day. The most important game you'll ever be on. And that game is called the game of life. And every single day you report in. And every single day you have an opportunity to do absolutely the best you can at this game. There'll never, ever, ever be a more important game. So look, I spent a lot of years teaching and coaching, and I've spent more years talking than anyone. And my voice is almost hoarse because I can't talk so much because I talk too much. But every talk I give, every locker room I've been in, every boardroom I've spoken, every family meeting I've had, went back to three major concepts. Concept number one is right up in that corner. E plus R equal O. You see, most people, by the way, they think that's wrong. Most people say, coach, 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 coach. They say E equals O. You see what they say, the events in your life equal the outcome. What they say is if it's a cloudy day out, it's raining out, well, that means it's a bad day. If the teacher gives me hard homework, well, then this can be a really bad night. We're experiencing a pandemic, a period of our lives that we've never been through. We're knocked sideways with messages of social injustice, knocked sideways, with a world around us that is totally uncertain, that would equal for us a bad year or a bad experience. But there's something special about this equation. And it's that letter I took away. Because E plus R equal O. The events in your life, many of which are out of your control. Many of which you didn't plan, and they actually simply suck. Excuse my language. They're actually really not something that you want to have happen. And by themselves, they can bring about an outcome that can be extremely negative. But that R, you own. That's yours forever and ever and ever and ever. That R is your response to the event. One day you'll read about the great Viktor Frankl. He was in Auschwitz prisoner of war camp. And Viktor Frankl had a great, great message. He said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And within that space holds R, freedom and empowerment, to choose how we want to respond. This pandemic, COVID-19, this challenge you've been given is just a challenge. You can turn it into anything you want by your choice of your response. All over the place, you're going to hear people blaming, complaining. You're going to hear people who are resentful, who are envious of the way it used to be. You're going to hear people who are moaning and groaning and saying things like, it would have, or should have, or could have. Then you're going to see some people that flourish when things get difficult. The greatest of all greats, the best of best, do their best when they feel like it their least. I'm Coach Jim Stroker, and I'm just a coach. But I had the really amazing opportunity of having a challenging event occur in my life. Well, my daughter Jake and Allie were injured in a car accident. And my daughter Allie at age 2 was paralyzed from the chest down. Well, my son Jake sustained a traumatic head injury and was in a coma for 20 days. That was the event. And about 2 weeks after the numbness wore off, the reality set in. This is what it is. You can't change it. This is the event. You can't change it. Today is today. It is what it is, and you can do anything you want with it. And that's what we're forced to do. We're forced to take a look at where we're at. The Greeks called it amor fati, the love of fate. We all like it when it's great. It's easy when it's easy. It's fun when it's fun. But the one thing I know about the greatest athletes I coached, when it was a difficult situation, they got better. When all others said, I'm not so sure I want to step into that challenge, they rose up and found a different level. And they truly stood out when they felt like at their least. Every one of us in this world have the same event. Every one of us in this world are looking at uncertainty. Every one of us are nervous and afraid. And every one of us has a choice to become the hero of our own life and step up when things are tough. E plus R equal O. You own the O. The second concept that I always talk about is written right up here. It's a line right down the middle of a ledger sheet. What's in your control and what's out of your control? What do I have control of and not have control of? Well, we can list a lot of things that are out of my control. Number one is COVID-19. Number two might be what other people say. Another thing might be what other people do. I can't control the weather. I can't control my height. I can't control a lot of the situations that I've been asked to deal with growing up. I can't control many, many things, but you control every single day. Your attitude, your effort, and your choice of how you want to respond. You own it. You walk in the building today with an attitude. You choose it. Optimistic, positive. Energy that's contagious. Or a scowl, a negative attitude, one of pessimism, sarcasm. You own that. That attitude is yours. And every single day, you get to choose it. And you and I know we've been around people that can raise us up, give us hope, give us inspiration, people that make us feel better, that we can do it. We've all been around people in the opposite frame of mind. We need each other more than ever before. We need a body language that says, I can do it. We need people that are pulling each other up. Latch arms, be a group this year that's driven with positivity and optimism. Concept number 3. I have 3 questions for you every single day. 3 questions. Are you focusing in on what's missing or what you're grateful enough to have? Are you focusing in on what's missing or what you're grateful enough to have? Forever and ever and ever, you're going to have a choice. And when things are tough, it's going to be easy to focus in on what's missing and miss what you have. Gratitude is a power source. Gratitude is research-based, and every single day, you write down in your gratitude journal that which you're grateful for. And every single day, you find more and more little things that you might just take for granted. Your mind gets reconstrued so that almost by nature, you can look down at your feet and say, I'm so lucky that I'm walking today. You can look around and say, I'm so lucky that I've got a school where people are built on love and care for me. I'm so lucky that I have eyes that can see. I'm so grateful that we have a chance to be together. I'm so grateful that I'm alive today. Are you focusing in on what's missing or what you have? Number 2 question, are you focusing in on what's in your control or out of your control? And we just talked about it. In your control, effort, attitude, and your responses. And then number 3, which is one of the hardest things. Are you focusing in on now? Or is your mind floating to when things get better? Is your mind floating back to where they used to be? Are you able to mindfully bring yourself back to the present moment, the now, right here? Look, you have a choice. Those who do and those who don't. You have a choice. Don't focus in on what you have. Focus in on what you don't have. You have a choice. Focus in on what you control or not what you control. You have a choice. Focus in on now or focus in on some other time. Those who do and those who don't, they're you. Well, I always love stories, and it was a story that changed my life. And it was 3 weeks after, it's about November 13th, 1989. And I was driving back from St. Joseph's Hospital in Patterson. I was scooting home for my hour shower before I'd go back to take care of Jake and Allie at St. Joe's. And when I was driving back, my mentor, Rob Gilbert, a teacher at Montclair State University, who gives a daily inspirational hotline, was giving a story. And I'll never forget that story, and I'd like to share it with you. It's a story about a little boy who's 12 years old. And one day he's out in the backyard with his dad, and his dad is taking a lot of big logs and putting it in this wood chipper. The little boy said, "Dad, can I help you?" And his dad said, "Son, no. You can't do this. It's too dangerous." The little boy sat there, and he wanted to do it very badly, when all of a sudden there was a phone call in the house. And his wife called out, "Mike, come quick. You've got to pick up this phone call. It's your sister. She's in trouble." Mike ran inside, and when he did, that little boy picked up that log and did what he shouldn't have done. He put it into that wood chipper. When he put it in the wood chipper, his coat got caught on the edge of the chipper, and all of a sudden, he felt the worst possible pain he could. He screamed. His dad ran out, and the little boy fainted. His arm was bleeding profusely, and that chipper had done a horrible job on that arm. They called the ambulance, and 24 minutes later, that little boy was wheeled in to the intensive care unit. Mike and his wife, Jen, sat there and prayed. And 2 hours later, the doctor came out and said, "I have good news and bad news. We were able to save your son's life, but unfortunately, we had to amputate his left arm." Parents were in shock, but they were so grateful their little boy's life was saved. Well, 4 weeks later, that little boy got out of the hospital. From that day on, he'd have only one arm. Well, he walked around the school, chin in his chest, feeling very bad about what the event had brought about, that he only had one arm and he'd never be the same. He'd never be as good as he was. He'd never be able to do things that other kids could do. And he walked around with his head down, complaining, blaming, being negative. And one day, that little boy walked uptown. And as he walked uptown, he looked into this dojo, into this training facility where these amazing instructors were working with young people in the area of jiu-jitsu, tai chi, taekwondo. And he looked in and he wished he could be there. But then he looked at his left arm. And there was this 8th degree martial artist that did all the training that looked at that little boy. And he looked at him, he saw something. He saw something that no one else had seen. And he beckoned to that little boy, come here. And that little boy walked in tentatively. And he looked at that little boy and said, son, I saw you in the doorway. What did you want? The little boy said, what I want, I can never have. So, what do you want? Tell me. I want to be able to get in here. And I want to be one of those black belts. I want to be something that everybody else can maybe be, but I can't. He said, why can't you? He said, because I only have one arm. Well, that master looked at that little boy and smiled and said, son, you come here tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I'll train you and I'll give you everything you've ever wanted. The boy looked at him and said, are you sure? I only have one arm. The master smiled at that lack of an arm and said, be here tomorrow morning. Next morning, that little boy got up. He walked 1.5 miles, walked into that dojo, and that master trained him for 15 minutes in the basic stance in martial arts. He trained him in a basic 1-2 punch, a basic kick. And then he brought him over in the corner for the last 10 minutes, and put him together, grabbed onto his shoulder, flipped him over his back, and said, now you do that. The boy said, me? He said, yes, grab me with that right arm, pull me over your back. And the little boy did it. And he said, do it again. And he did it. He said, now leave and go to school, but be here again tomorrow. Every day, show up. And that little boy did. And every day, the same routine, basic stance, basic punch, basic kick, and then that one move where he took the master, took him by the collar and flipped him over, put him on his back. And every day the same thing for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, the master looked him square in the eye and said, son, you're ready. The boy said, ready for what? He said, I'm bringing you to the state championships tomorrow. Have your bags packed. You're going to win that state championship. The boy said, sir, sir, you've taught me the basics. I only know one move. I said, son, trust me. The next day, the little boy showed up at 6 o'clock. They got in the master's truck, and he drove him 2 hours to the state championship. And the little boy walked out on the mat, and his opponent came out at him. He threw one basic punch, one basic kick, and then grabbed his opponent with this special move and flipped him over his back. The judge put his arm up, and he won the match. And the master said, do it again. And he did it again. And he did it again. And again. And again. Until all of a sudden, he looked up on the board and saw this was the state championship. The little boy walked out, And that big opponent looked at him, moved in for the kill, grabbed the little boy, and bang, flipped him right over his back. The official walked out, raised his arm up, put a trophy in his hand, and that little boy walked right off that mat. He walked over to the master, looked him in the eye, and said, "Sir, you got to tell me. They felt sorry for me. I know they did. They let me win. I know they did. There's no way I could have won the state championship. I only know one move." He said, "Son, you mastered one move. It's one of the best and most challenging moves in all of martial arts. And son, there's only one way that anyone can get out of that move. And that's to grab your left arm. To grab your left arm." That little boy looked down at his left arm and realized he was impossible to beat. He didn't have a left arm. You see, that master looked at the obstacle and he saw the opportunity. He looked at a problem and he called it a possibility. That man looked with different eyes and a different lens at a problem. I drove to the hospital the next day on a mission. On a mission not to blame and complain, to kind of push my negativity and fear to the side, because I was on a mission. I was on a mission with my team, my wife Jody and our 2 children, to turn this obstacle upside down, to flip it on its back, and somehow think that having Allie in a wheelchair would actually be a gift. That Jake having use of only one arm could be a gift. This COVID experience could flip anyone upside down. And if you're a normal person, you're going to be hit and walking sideways. But trust me on this one. Trust me. You have a chance here to grow, become better, to come together as a team, to take this challenge and become even a better school than BF's ever been before, ever. Because of the players that are playing, you've got teachers who are there. You've got teachers who are going to step it up and be in their best stuff. And they're just asking you as 6th graders to be part of this team. Every day, we're going to say to you, show up. And that means show up and be into this, not just in it. That means show up for other people. That means climb out of those covers, and show up in the school, your best stuff. We're going to tell you, be brave. You're going to be nervous a lot this year. And nervousness means, yes, now I have a chance to grow. Walk forward with that nervousness. Be a hero this year. Do the right thing instead of the easy thing. Choose courage over comfort. And then be kind. Kind is a proactive act that means you are coming out of yourself. You're getting out of your own head and you're giving to others. The kinder you are, the better you'll feel. You have a chance every day to do those little acts of kindness. Every day, every single day. There are 19,000 3-second moments in every hour. Let me repeat that. 19,000 3-second moments in an hour. And any one of those moments, you can choose to show kindness to someone else. And then finally, smile. You're alive. And don't let anything steal your peace because it's your choice. No one can make you feel mad. No one can make you angry. No one can make you resentful. That's your choice. I hope sixth graders, you have the greatest year of your life. You have a chance to make an impact on the school, and I know you will. Have a great, great day. We love you. We're here for you, and make it happen. Don't count the days. Make the days count. Have a great day.